Guys, huge sponsor this week. Less than 24 hours ago, SteelSeries revealed and released their limited edition range of Diablo 4 peripherals. Headset, mouse, mouse mat, and Control Freak thumbsticks. This stuff is not only top of the line kit, but it also looks pretty rad to boot. It's a strictly limited release and it will sell out, so if you want to grab it and get a 12% discount while doing so, click the link below and use offer code SKILLUP at checkout. Gamers, just to get out ahead of it because I know it's coming in the comment section, yes, I know that there is a PlayStation showcase happening just a few hours after this video goes live. The meme that big news only breaks after I've uploaded the show is 100% true, but usually I don't know that that news is coming. This time, I do, but the fact is this episode was already so huge and I'm expecting that showcase to be so big that there was just no way to do it all in one video. So we're gonna do this show today and then we might do a special bumper episode tomorrow because yeah, I think it's gonna be a pretty massive showcase given it's the first time Sony has hosted one since 2021. Outside of that, you know what else is dropping this week? Destiny's new Season of the Deep. I know you don't care, but allow me to give you a reason to care, maybe a little bit. I'm going to be playing it, and while I do so, I'm going to be doing a charity fundraising stream to raise money for cancer research thanks to Game on Cancer. That'll be this Saturday, 10 AM Sydney time over on Twitch. Link below the like button, but I'll provide some more info later in the episode. Alright, well, like I said, it's a big week, so where to begin? How about dunking on Overwatch? That sounds like a good time, right? Let's do that. The news is well and surely out at this point, but Overwatch 2 is officially dead. I mean, sure, Overwatch 1 is still alive and well, since that was a PvP game that's now got a new suffix and a way more expensive cash shop, but Overwatch 2, I mean the real Overwatch 2, that was always meant to be this ambitious hybridization of Overwatch's 1 PvP with this all-new PvE mode, complete with all new activities, a new character progression model, skill trees, and so much more. The essential pitch for that was that if you didn't want to play the PvP side of the game, you didn't have to, because the PvE side of it would be so fleshed out and so chunky that it would be more than enough to keep you going. Well, like a lot of stuff coming out of Blizzard these past few years, that dream has died, and it did so when the Overwatch senior leadership team appeared on a live stream to drop this absolute clanger.
With everything we've learned about what it takes to operate this game at the level that you deserve, it's clear that we can't deliver on that original vision for PvE that was shown in 2019. What that means is that we won't be delivering that dedicated hero mode with talent trees, that long-term power progression. Those things just aren't in our plans anymore.
There was a lot of stuff said before this about how Blizzard's focus on live service delivery has been paying dividends for them, and they're now very happy with the content cadence on the PvP side of the game. They also talked about how many resources the PvE side of things was soaking up, and yet how far they still were from the finish line, saying that there was, quote, no end in sight, end quote. A pretty dire turn of phrase when it comes to something that's already been in development for at least 4 years. While all of that may be true, it's cold comfort to a player base who for years now have been looking forward to this massive expansion of the Overwatch experience. I mean, I don't know if you guys play any live service games, but imagine if whatever you might be playing at this point, developers spent literally years promising all of these amazing new ways to play the game you love, and all of a sudden they just yanked that away, and the devs were like, oops, soz, our bad. It's essentially what the Overwatch community has been going through this past week. But external to that, I personally am not an Overwatch fan, but I was quite interested in the promised PvE game. I always loved the Overwatch universe, the characters, the art style, the character kits. It would have been pretty rad to see all of that taken into a PvE experience, be it a co-op horde shooter, or a looter shooter, or an MMO light. I don't know, there's just so much potential there, and now none of it will be realized. To be clear, Blizzard have said that they will continue to prioritize PvE experiences and deliver them alongside the live service PvP game. But like, really? We're supposed to believe that now? Once bitten, twice shy and all that, but even if it is true, it's pretty clear that it's not going to be anything close to the level of ambition that was promised during Overwatch 2's initial reveal. Game producer Aaron Keller would go on to apologize for the decision in a blog post, quote, "This has been hard for us, but as the director on this project, I have to do my best to make decisions that put the game and the community first, even when those decisions are disappointing. In this case, I had trouble pivoting away from a vision that just wasn't working, and for that I would like to apologize to our players and to our team. I'm sorry," end quote. Keller would go on to reveal that the Overwatch team has always held a candle for Project Titan, the cancelled FPS MMO that Overwatch emerged from. He says that the secret plan was for the PvP game to bolt on an ambitious PvE mode, and that would then eventually blossom into the full-scale MMO that they had always hoped for. That grand plan is now thoroughly abandoned, with those enticed by it left bitterly disappointed, while at least a few people are relieved that Blizzard will be now putting its full energy behind the PvP side of the game. Regardless of why this happened, it's a deeply embarrassing L for Blizzard. They announced something too early with either too much or too little vision for it, and now they've left millions of people disappointed and questioning the future of the franchise. The entire point of Overwatch 2 was this thing that just got cancelled. And with this cancellation, it's impossible not to feel at least a little cynical toward an update that ultimately just reduced team size by 1 and added a really expensive cash shop that absolutely everyone agrees is a massive downgrade versus the monetization model of Overwatch 1. It's going to take the Overwatch team a long time to rebuild the community's trust after this, and certainly there are going to be plenty of people who just aren't interested in having that trust rebuilt at all. Fair enough, I guess. Alright, let's talk about GTA 6 now. So obviously the game was leaked last year, one of the biggest news stories of 2022. When that happened, people looked at the leaked gameplay and tried to guesstimate how close the game might be to completion, with the prevailing wisdom being shrug emoji. We had no idea when GTA 6 would drop and likely wouldn't know until Rockstar told us. Not so maybe, as a potential release window has been all but confirmed by GTA publisher Take-Two Interactive. Recently they held an earnings call where they spelled out their medium-term forecasts. The coming year is looking a little light, but fiscal year 2025 is meant to be a real barn burner. Take-Two are projecting to earn over $8 billion in net bookings that year, up from their $5 billion this year. Take-Two have a bunch of projects on the burner for sure, but what could possibly account for a $3 billion bump in net bookings? I'll give you a clue. It starts with G, and it ends with TA6. Now obviously this isn't super surprising given that the fiscal 25 window actually starts in April 2024 and it ends in March 25. Given what we've seen and heard about GTA 6 to this point and given the rumor mill churning about it, it's perfectly logical to assume a release window sometime next year, most likely in that peak season of September to November 2024. That's where most industry pundits and financial speculators have put it, and this recent earnings call certainly makes it hard to argue with that. So get your credit cards ready, people. GTA 6 and GTA 6 Online are more than likely headed your way in 2024. Incidentally, that isn't all Take-Two are putting out. Rather surprisingly, they confirmed they have approximately 48 games set to release by April 2026, making them one of the most prolific publishers on the planet if they actually hit that number. Even more surprising, 44% of those are new IP, which, yeah, I mean, it's rare for AAA publishers to take big risks on new IP these days, let alone take 22 risks. Hats off to them, to be honest. Assuming that these are good video games that aren't just microtransaction platforms in disguise, I'm all for big publishers putting their money behind new IP rather than safe bets. With this volume of games in the pipeline, I expect we'll see at least a few of them during the Summer Games Fest period coming up very soon. Oh, and just briefly, Mortal Kombat 1 has been officially revealed. I'd do more of a deep dive on it, but to be honest, we don't have a huge amount of info on it yet, other than it exists. It definitely is a timeline reset thanks to Liu Kang, who's enabled his God mode cheats. The art design is looking top tier, and I'm looking forward to getting my hands on this one when it launches September 19th this year, much sooner than I think many of us were predicting. We've got a chunky back end of the episode this week, so we'll do a quick lightning round to cap off the news block. The new Star Wars game in development at Ubisoft Massive may be closer than we think. That report comes from Kotaku, who claim they have sources suggesting that the title will drop sometime before March 2024. Ubisoft have hinted that there is a big title coming before then, but wouldn't say what it was, so this could very well be it. We still haven't seen any actual gameplay for this yet, or even a teaser trailer come to think of it, but it's very likely we'll see at least something during the Ubisoft showcase scheduled for mid-June. Exoprimal is giving you the option to avoid its interesting PvP. That was a big pain point during the recent playtest, as people enjoyed the co-op dino hunting shooter for its fun PvE action, but didn't really vibe with its forced PvP at the end of each round. Capcom have just announced that they're adding a specific set of cues that will allow you to avoid PvP entirely should you choose to. Great news, definitely gives this game a better shot at success, I think. Incidentally, if you want to learn more about Exoprimal, I'll leave a link to my preview below the like button. If you've heard of Power Wash Simulator, we'll get ready for Power Sponge Wash Bob. Is that anything? I don't think that's anything. Point is, Power Wash Simulator has teased a SpongeBob SquarePants crossover that is incredibly fucking cool. I didn't think they could find a way to top Power Washing Cloud's bike from Final Fantasy VII, but they found a way to do it. No date yet, but it's likely hitting sometime soon if the previous release cadence is anything to go by. Arc Raiders still exists. That's the latest update from Embark Studios, who recently put Arc Raiders on the back burner to focus on their destruction-heavy shooter, The Finals. Preview for that below the like button as well, by the way. Arc Raiders looked really sick when it first debuted, and since then we've learned that it's kind of an extraction shooter with PvE and PvE elements, like a sci-fi hunt showdown. Sounds pretty cool to me, to be honest. Embark have said that a closed alpha for Arc Raiders is happening at the moment, meaning that development development is progressing well. We'll likely hear more about it later this year. Tears of the Kingdom has sold 10 million copies in just 3 days, making it the fastest selling Zelda game of all time. Not much else to say about that, other than I really hope Nintendo have plenty of space in their cabinets for all the Game of the Year trophies headed their way. While Gollum drops this week, there's even more Lord of the Rings to look forward to in the form of a newly announced MMORPG. Project is a partnership between Lord of the Rings rights holder Embracer Group and Lord of the Rings TV show maker Amazon. The game is being developed by the team who made New World. Not sure if that's a good or bad thing, to be honest, since I don't really know where things are at with that game right now. Will this Amazon-published MMO be as good as the Amazon-produced TV show? Man, I hope so. That is a low bar, and if the game can't clear it, then it is truly Mount Doomed. And finally, I saved the best for last. Nick Cage is joining the cast of Dead by Daylight. That was revealed in a teaser trailer that dropped earlier this week. I think this YouTube comment said it best, quote, "The fact that we don't even know if he's gonna be a survivor or a killer says enough about Nick," end quote. Indeed it does, my friend. Indeed it does. So, what got announced or delayed this week? Well, a hell of a lot actually, so buckle up. A few smaller things first. BLEAK Sword DX describes itself as lo-fi Elden Ring. It's a bold claim, but it is a low-res Souls-like where you can ride a horse, so yeah, I can see it. This one's been out on Apple Arcade for a while now, where it's enjoyed strong reviews. It's just been announced for both PC and Switch, arriving on June 8th. Never Awake is a cute-looking shoot-'em-up that dropped on PC last year and is now getting a console release. It's hitting Xbox on June 29th. Not sure if this will hit Game Pass, but it kind of feels like it will. Liberté is a deck-building roguelite that the developers say combines the French Revolution with body horror elements. I don't know how closely these guys have read their history, because there was already a lot of body horror going on during the French Revolution in the first place, so this really just seems like an accurate retelling. This one's been in early access on Steam since February of last year. Decent reviews, sitting at mostly positive on Steam. They've just announced a 1.0 release date. It's today. Exclusive to PC for the moment, no word on consoles yet. Devolver Digital have confirmed that Rafael Colantonio's Weird West is coming to the Switch at some point. The announcement comes after a retailer went and leaked it. Gotta love retail leaks. Best Buy, Amazon, and Walmart, the most trusted names in gaming news. Anyway, Devolver don't have a date yet for this Switch port, but it's on the way, likely sometime soon. Speaking of leaks, it seems all but certain that Alan Wake 2 is launching in October. This news comes courtesy of Matthew Peretta, who voices Alan Wake. He appeared on the Monsters, Madness, and Magic podcast, where he says that the game is meant to come out in October. It's not exactly official confirmation, but it's a pretty reasonable release date given development timelines and hype cycles. If it's true, we'll almost certainly get confirmation at the Summer Games Fest on June 8th, or a few days after at the Xbox Showcase, either one. Jagged Alliance is back, or it will be soon. The classic tactics-style franchise has been on hiatus since 1999, but THQ Nordic are bringing it back with a new modern entry. We've seen previews to this point and they've all looked solid, and now we've got an official release date, July 14th, exclusive to PC. Unsure if we'll ever get a console release for this one given the nature of the title, but never say never. The Expanse, now we're talking. Man, I love me some Expanse, I love me some drama, and she's headlining a new Telltale game from developer Deck 9. This is one of the first games to come out of the relaunched Telltale brand after the collapse of the studio, so it is a shame that its launch comes at the same time that Deck 9 announces redundancies at their studio, almost like history repeating itself. Either way, the game is coming to all platforms on July 27th, but that's just episode 1, and the remaining 4 episodes will drop every 2 weeks after that. The final announcement of the week definitely isn't official, but it's something. Stray for Xbox has been rated by the ESRB. It was spotted by Twitter user Macos380, and since then the rating has been removed from the ESRB website, but it shouldn't come as a shock, since Stray was only ever a third-party PlayStation exclusive, opening the door for the title to arrive on other platforms eventually. Stray was one of the most critically acclaimed games of last year, owed in large part to the fact that people really love cats, and this game lets you play as a cat, so boom, Game of the Year contender go purr. Oh, that was terrible. Anyway, given the timing for this, I do expect we'll see an announcement for the Xbox version during the Summer Games Fest or the Xbox Showcase, so stay tuned. 2 delay announcements this week. The first is for WrestleQuest. This is basically like Zelda with wrestling. I played a demo of it a while back and it was a good time with a good sense of humor. This was meant to be dropping in May, but the developers have just announced that the date has slipped into Northern Summer, no specific date yet. The other delay was for Another Crab's Treasure, the Souls-like, crab-like, where you have to find junk on the ocean floor so you can use it as a house and or body armor. This was meant to ship sometime this year, but will now drop in early 2024. The development team behind this one are always good for a laugh, and along with their delay announcement, they tweeted out an image of that famous Miyamoto quote, "God damn, this shit is taking forever." Wise words, Miyamoto-sama. Thank you as always. Finally, there was one game cancellation this week, and it was for Vampire the Masquerade BLOODHUNT. No, this isn't the vampire game you're thinking of. That one's stuck in development hell and will probably never be released. This one was the Battle Royale vampire game that's... yeah, I mean, that just never really made sense to anyone, right? This did have a lengthy pre-release beta window, and it did launch to fairly strong numbers, around 30k concurrent players max. But since then, it's hovered at around the 1,000 to 2,000 players mark. Not nothing, but not enough to sustain a studio. This week, the developer Shark Mob announced that there was no more blood to be sucked out of this one, and the development on BLOODHUNT will cease and the game will enter a maintenance mode. Servers will stay up for now, but will be turned off at some point in the future, no date yet. Unclear what Shark Mob will be working on next. They're a talented team of veterans and appear to be well funded, so yeah, definitely worth keeping an eye on whatever their next move might be. Let's hope it doesn't suck. Like the vampire game. Okay, let's move on. So what came out last week? A lot of stuff, actually. Kind of a theme for this week, come to think of it. We've covered off the reviews for Humanity last week, but just as a brief recap, it's excellent, and if you're looking for an offbeat puzzle experience or a premium PSVR 2 experience, then look no further. HROT launched into 1.0 last week after a lengthy and very successful early access period. Steam reviews for this one remain as high in 1.0 as they were in early access, higher in fact. It's at 98% overwhelmingly positive, just a crazy good result. Not many critic reviews out for this one yet, but Rock Paper Shotgun seem to largely enjoy it, saying, quote, "It offers a masterclass in classic FPS map design, but has a weaker arsenal than other boomer shooters and becomes less coherent as it progresses," end quote. While PC Gamer were more impressed, scoring it an 87 and saying, quote, "HROT's very final boss was a joke that didn't land for me after an unbroken string of ones that did, but otherwise it's pure boomer shooter excellence," end quote. Big week for boomer shooters, actually. More on that very soon. Starship Troopers Extermination arrived into early access last week, and so far, so good. I was actually stunned to learn that this game has nearly 8,000 Steam reviews already, which is a really huge number when it comes to an early access game that's had barely any marketing pump behind it. Better still, it's sitting at 93% very positive on Steam. The Steam reviews tell the story of a game that's nailing all the fundamentals while being very true to the source material. It's not all good news though. There are some reviews highlighting serious issues with the game, like this one from MLZ who writes, quote, "It's so sad developers can get away with filling a game with bugs and then relying on their players to root out and kill them all. I'm doing my part, ... end quote. Classic lazy devs and their buggy releases. Very disappointing, shaking my head. Firmament is the next thing from the makers of the all-time classic Myst and its follow-up Riven. This team actually wrote the book on how these sorts of games are made, but it seems as though Firmament is not really following in that tradition. The few critic reviews out for this one are kind to it, with PC Gamer scoring at a 73 and saying, quote, "A graphically gorgeous descendant of Myst, paradoxically limited by its own ambitions," end quote. It's the Steam reviews that are more concerning though, the title currently sitting at a mixed 65%. Reviews there say the game is only about 5 hours long, and while visually gorgeous, it's packed with a number of confusing and tedious puzzles, and for Myst fans to be saying that, you know they got something seriously wrong, because those games were anything but user-friendly. What else dropped this week? The Outlast Trials, that's right. This is a co-op take on that body horror franchise. This one seems to have landed pretty well. Steam reviews love it, with the title sitting at 93% very positive, over 8,000 reviews counted already. Critics are less pumped though, with it coming in at a fair 73 on OpenCritic, though to be fair, there are only 4 critic reviews at this point, so that score likely will change considerably as more reviews roll in. This one is in early access, and right now IGN is scoring it a 7, saying, quote, "The Outlast Trials is a unique cooperative horror game with a lot of potential, but it's one of those early access games that's unpolished and lacking content," end quote. And God is a Geek matched that 7 out of 10 score, saying, quote, "The Outlast Trials is possibly the most deranged the series has ever been, with plenty of smart ideas, albeit quite sparse on content," end quote. That content offering will surely be fattened out over the course of that early access period. Final release for the week was LEGO 2K Drive. Now, last week I said that I wanted to boot this up and give you some impressions, but unfortunately I couldn't, as I'm currently reviewing 3 video games, potentially a 4th, and I just had no time to get around to it, so I apologize. I'm sad about it because depending on who you ask, it's good, but there's a kicker, and that kicker is right there in the title, 2K. The title sits at a mixed 50% on Steam, with even the negative reviews admitting that the game itself is pretty fun and well made. The problem are the microtransactions, as LEGO 2K Drive is a live service title that seems to really nickel and dime you on purchases to the point where trying to unlock things for free is basically impossible. One reviewer calculated that it would take 167 hours of grinding to unlock a single premium DLC car. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what he wrote down. So yeah, that's why they call it LEGO 2K Drive as opposed to just LEGO Drive. Critic reviews have this at a fair 73, with the more positive reviews focusing on the fact that the game is fun and well made, with the more negative reviews zeroing in on those microtransactions. Sadly, when it comes to LEGO 2K Drive, it appears as though everything is not awesome. Sad times. So what's coming out this week? Well, wouldn't you know it, a hell of a lot of stuff. Told you that was a bit of a running theme this week. Kicking things off is everyone's favorite looter shooter, and by favorite I mean everyone hates it and loves dunking on it every chance they get. Destiny 2, the new season of the Deep launches this week. I will not be touching it until Saturday when I do my charity fundraising stream for Game on Cancer. That's 10 o'clock Sydney time this coming Saturday, which is American Friday night. I will be doing the new season, including the new dungeon. That'll be on my Twitch channel, link below the like button. I hope you'll stop by and dig deep while I play Season of the Deep. Hope you liked that one, I worked really hard on that. Convergence is a League of Legends story that drops on all platforms today. So first of all, can I say, it's weird how little marketing push Riot is putting behind these titles. There have been quite a few games under their Riot Forge label, including strong stuff like Ruin King and Mage Seeker, but Riot doesn't seem to promote them. I don't see any ads, I don't see preview coverage, I don't see chatter on social media, I don't get any emails from their PR people or whatever. These games sort of just suddenly arrive, and they're usually good, but it seems as though Riot are content to rely on their existing, admittedly massive fanbase to carry these titles to success, rather than looking to push them into new channels. Either way, Convergence stars Echo. He's gone from the mid lane to center stage as he fronts this 2D side-scrolling action game. If the quality of previous Riot Forge games is anything to go by, this will surely be a good time too. Personally, I'm planning on booting this up on the Steam Deck since it seems like a nice fit there. Planet of Lana arrives this week, exclusive to Xbox and PC for the moment at least, and available on Game Pass to boot. This is one of those 2D exploratory adventures, think Limbo or Grease, that sort of thing. Really gorgeous art design and an immersive soundscape designed to get you into a chill mood as you explore some impossible world full of beauty and or mystery. The review embargo for this one dropped a few days ago and it's looking very good, a strong 82 on OpenCritic. The 6 Axes really enjoyed it, scoring it an 8, saying, quote, Planet of Lana looks and sounds as wonderful as its original reveal promised. While it doesn't redefine the adventure platformer, the gorgeous art direction and sweeping soundtrack make this well worth experiencing, end quote. While Game Informer were in about the same spot, scoring it a 7.8 and saying, quote, the art direction and main jingle are likely the only things that will stick with me in the long run, but Lana and Moi's journey is a competent rescue mission that doesn't always soar as high as the machines pursuing them, end quote. Here's one for you Trekkies, if that's what they still call you, I don't know. Star Trek Resurgence arrives on all platforms bar the Switch today. I have a friend who's a Star Trek fan and he is so pumped for this. It's like his #1 game this year before Zelda or Diablo or Final Fantasy or anything. I think for Star Trek people, the idea of a narrative-led RPG with a lot of talking is inherently more appealing than an action game with a lot of fighting. I kind of get that because I feel like that's what Mass Effect was, and it was basically the greatest sci-fi game ever made. Anyway, Star Trek Resurgence reviews are already out, and they're solid enough, a fair 70 on OpenCritic. IGN scored it a 7, saying, quote, the story of Star Trek Resurgence does an excellent job of capturing what makes Star Trek work by presenting strong characters and tough decisions. Some storylines lack closure, and it doesn't always run smoothly, but its heart is in the right place, end quote. Live long and prosper, Star Trek people. You guys don't get many games, so I hope you enjoy this one. Wobble Dogs. You've never heard of this one, but this was actually the 14th highest rated game on Steam in 2022. Stray proved that people really love cats, but Wobble Dogs proved that people really love their Wobble Dogs. This was a PC exclusive, but is now hitting PlayStation and Xbox on the 23rd. Warhammer 40k Bolt Gun. God damn, this is a good time. I reviewed this one last night, link below the like button. I really loved it. It is every bit the retro-inspired boomer shooter you see on the tin, so it's not going to be for everyone. It's also very Warhammer 40k with its weapon types and enemies and locations, which means that, again, it's not going to be for everyone. But if you're over 30 and enjoy either looking at, reading about, or painting little miniature figurines representing different factions within a fictionalized and never-ending war, then boy oh boy is Warhammer 40k Bolt Gun tailor-made for you. Reviews went up last night and they are positive across the board, leaving room for the fact that this is certainly an acquired taste. The title is sitting at a fair 74 on OpenCritic, which I think is about right, maybe a little on the low side. PC Gamer were big fans, scoring it an 85 and saying, quote, Bolt Gun is stupendously fun, a treat for Warhammer players and a worthy member of the growing legion of retro shooters, end quote. While at the more critical end of the spectrum, Push Square scored it a 6 and said, quote, if you can look past the repetition and roadblocks, Warhammer 40k Bolt Gun is a largely solid shooter. It nails the visuals, the guns generally feel great, and the sound design is suitably punchy. Just don't expect it to push beyond those foundations, end quote. Incidentally, the title is already out on Steam, and it's sitting at 96% overwhelmingly positive. The Emperor will no doubt be pleased. Something else to keep an eye out for this week if you're on Xbox or Switch is Cassette Beasts. It's like Pokemon if Pokemon grew up and, I don't know, became good, looked decent, ran well. Any of the above, really. It's an indie title that launched on PC in April. It's sitting at 97% overwhelmingly positive on Steam, so people really love it. And now it's headed to Nintendo's handheld as well as Game Pass, both PC and console. That'll be available on the 25th. The Lord of the Rings Gollum. Well, it's finally here after a whole bunch of very mid-looking trailers and some pretty sketchy previews and like 5 delays. I don't know, probably not that many, but it certainly feels like that. Gollum is a third-person stealth action game that tells the story no one asked for. What happened to Gollum between his capture by Sauron and his eventual reunion with his precious? If you have a PC, Xbox, or PlayStation, you're going to be able to find out on the 25th. It's going to be very interesting to see how this one lands. The Case of the Golden Idol was one of the most darling of indie darlings when it released last year. A detective game that appeared on more than its fair share of Game of the Year lists owing to its clever mystery and tight writing. A Switch port was just announced and it's dropping on the 25th. And finally, Forspoken is getting some DLC and it's called Intantra We Trust? Damn, nice. Hell yeah, man. Looks like I'm gonna have to play me some... Oh, wait, sorry. I misread that. It's Intanta We Trust. That is much less interesting than the alternative. For those still interested, this is paid story DLC for Forspoken. It drops on the 26th. My disappointment is immeasurable and my day is ruined. Alright, no time to mope about though. Put this on your radar. Lately we've seen a fairly interesting string of space shooters. We had Chorus, which was apparently pretty good, and we had Everspace 2, which was definitely excellent. Since Star Citizen probably won't release until the 6th millennium, perhaps this will tide you over in the meantime. It's called Space Rain. It's a self-published title from Propulsive Games. It describes itself as a space sim with strategy elements, and from the looks of things, it seems to be combining elements of more arcade space shooters like Everspace with space management elements from stuff like FTL. Plus, the Homeworld style aesthetic is difficult to ignore, and given that I am very excited for Homeworld 3, I'll take what I can get in the meantime. This one is hitting pretty soon actually. It's dropping in early access on June 13th. If you'd like to get in on the ground floor with this one, I'd strongly recommend wishlisting it. That always helps developers out in a big way. If you want to do that, I've left a link to it over on my Steam Curator page, which also has links to all of the other Put This On Your Radar stuff I've recently covered. I'll leave a link to all of that below the like button. Sort of free stuff time now. It is the final week of the month, basically, so very important to grab all of your PS Plus, Games with Gold, and Prime Gaming stuff before it disappears. We won't hear about next month's lineups until later, but we still have plenty to shout out this week, including Epic. Now remember last week when I told you that Epic teased a mystery title and it usually ends up being pretty good when they do that? Well, it doesn't get much better than the seminal, peerless, genre-creating masterpiece, Death Stranding. Epic are giving away the first ever Strand-type game for free, but if you don't buy it and give Kojima the money he deserves, then shame on you. Kojima is a struggling indie dev, we've got to help him out, okay? Anyway, Death Stranding is up until the 26th, at which point a new mystery title will drop. It's probably going to be Borderlands 3, I'm calling it now. One thing I will point out about the Epic Store while we're here is that they've just launched a rewards program. It's basically the first good store feature that Epic have ever launched. You earn 5% back on your purchases, which can then be put towards future purchases. That's really good. If you're not someone wedded to Steam, then you can just get your games 5% cheaper now. Not bad. Now, if Epic can just make their storefront not feel like I'm navigating Internet Explorer circa 2006, I think they'd be onto a real winner. Speaking of Steam, 2 things to shout out this week. The first is that in celebration of the 10-year anniversary of Metro Last Light, it is being given away for free. Just straight up free, no strings attached. It's only until the 25th though, so you better get in quick on that one. Also, Steam have just announced 90-minute game trials, and they're kicking things off with a trial for Dead Space. You could always just buy a Steam game and refund it within 2 hours, but the purpose of that system wasn't to use for demo purposes, it was buyer protection. So this new program is going to make it easier than ever before to try games before you buy them, and unlike PlayStation's demo program, you don't have to pay for an expensive subscription for the privilege. Thanks, Gaben. Keep it up, my dude. Finally, we have a Game Pass refresh, and it's on the light side, but Cassette Beasts is on there. That's that grown-up Pokemon game I mentioned earlier. Chicory is really nice, actually. It's a coloring book game, which won many a heart when it launched in 2021. It hasn't been on Xbox to this point, but it's arriving on the platform this month on Game Pass, no less. Planet of Lana is on there as well as a day one release for a solid 2D exploration title. And FIFA's on there as well, but who cares except for, I don't know, the 3 or 4 billion people who like football. Our feel-good story for the week actually segues neatly from our sorta free stuff block, because recently Star Wars Pod Racer has been given away on a number of different platforms, including Prime Gaming and Games with Gold. It's led some people to revisit the classic, some of them even going so far as to roll credits. One person who did so, a Twitter user by the name of Truckle Chuckle, noticed something rather odd. A credit listed as never actively tried to sabotage the project. The recipient of that credit? Tim Schafer. Now, for those of you unaware, Tim Schafer is the legendary LucasArts luminary, creator of classics like Monkey Island, Grim Fandango, Full Throttle, and more. Given that both Star Wars games and the classic LucasArts adventure games were being made in the same building, Tim actually sat adjacent to the pod racing dev team while he was making Grim Fandango. Responding to Trucklechuck's question about the credit, Tim tells it thusly, quote, "Once, hanging out in the office, I asked, what credit are you going to give me on Pod Racer? Why would we give you a credit on Pod Racer?" they responded. "You didn't do anything to help make this project." I said, "True, but on the other hand, I did nothing to hurt it. They just couldn't shake the logic, I guess," end quote. So there you have it, Tim Schafer, not only famous for creating some of the greatest adventure games of all time, but also for actively not sabotaging one of the greatest Star Wars games of all time. Thanks, Tim. We appreciate it. All right, hella long show today, so we got to wrap it up fast. Did you like the video? If you did, the like button would certainly appreciate your patronage. And if you'd like to know the minute that PlayStation Showcase video is live, be sure to subscribe to the channel and ding the notification bell. I'll tell you right now that I've got a review going up tonight as well. I can't say what for yet, so all the more reason to be subscribed and ring that bell. This week, we've got an episode of the Friends Per Second podcast going up on the channel where we'll be interviewing Jeff Keighley, asking him about the recent demise of E3 and his grand plans to fill the void with Summer Games Fest. Should be a really interesting chat. And finally, of course, we've got the charity stream this Saturday, 10 AM City time over on Twitch. I hope you'll donate generously for what is a truly worthwhile cause. All right, nerds, you've been a great audience, but it's time to say goodbye. Unless, of course, you're interested in those limited edition Diablo 4 SteelSeries peripherals. If so, stay a while and listen. Alright, well, I don't know about you guys, but I'm pretty excited for Diablo 4 dropping next week. If you are also a Diablo enjoyer, then chances are you might enjoy this limited edition range of Diablo 4 themed peripherals from friend of the channel, SteelSeries. Now, I'll tell you right off the top, all of this stuff is top tier kit. This isn't cheap and nasty budget peripherals with a Diablo coat of paint slapped on it. SteelSeries took some of the best products from their award-winning range. They work with Blizzard to develop designs that were true to the Diablo aesthetic, and here they are in all of their hellish glory. The Arctis Nova 7 Wireless is a headset that almost needs no introduction, recipient of many an award for best gaming headset. It's been engineered with the Nova acoustic system featuring hi-fi audio supercharged with their Sonar audio software suite and delivering 360-degree spatial audio. It supports 2 audio streams at once with simultaneous 2.4 GHz and Bluetooth, easily swapping between PC, Mac, PlayStation, and Switch with USB-C. Plus, it has up to 38 hours of battery life with a quick charge that'll give you 6 hours worth of listening time in just 15 minutes of charging. Not for nothing, but this one also comes with an exclusive in-game item that you can't get anywhere else. The Diablo 4 mouse is actually based on SteelSeries' Aerox 5, which is the mouse that I use and love. It's the perfect balance of size, shape, and weight, with 9 programmable buttons, and the TrueMove air sensor delivers unrivaled precision and accuracy. As the lightest multi-genre wireless mouse on the planet, it weighs in at 74 grams while providing up to 180 hours of battery life for big sessions and a hell of a lot of clicking. That mouse also comes with that exclusive in-game item, by the way. I'm always a sucker for a big decorative mouse mat, and this one sure is something. No better way to theme your setup than this bad boy. And if you're planning on playing on controller, then SteelSeries have got you covered too, working with Control Freak to deliver a range of Diablo 4 themed performance thumbsticks, giving you greater control over the action while giving your controller a nice visual glow up. So that's the lineup, but here's the deal. These dropped on the SteelSeries.com website less than 24 hours ago. They are brand spanking new. I have confirmed with SteelSeries that this will be one of the first shoutouts for them, so you're basically hearing it here first, but that means that you can get in before this stuff sells out, because believe me, it will sell out. When we've done shoutouts on the channel in the past for new headset drops or stuff like the Destiny 2 peripheral range, we emptied the shelves. So if you want to make sure you don't miss out, click the link below and grab what you can before it's gone. Best of all, because SteelSeries are a channel partner, you get a full 12% off any purchase by using offer code SKILLUP at checkout. That's 12% off any purchase from SteelSeries.com using offer code SKILLUP at checkout. Get in quick before it's all gone. Thanks SteelSeries for sponsoring the video, and thank you for watching it.